Welcome to Behind the Research, where we go behind the latest research from the Journal of Financial Planning. I'm Ben Lewis, and today I'm joined by Dr. Miranda Reiter, an assistant professor in the School of Financial Planning at Texas Tech University, where her research focuses on making financial planning more representative, accessible, and responsive to consumer needs. Miranda authored the latest research in the July issue of the Journal of Financial Planning titled AI Based Financial Advice. Who is interested? Miranda's paper is based on new research analyzing 19,000 consumers, taking a close look at who's open to receiving financial advice from AI. The profile that emerges is more nuanced than you might expect. FinTech users, younger generations, and the financially literate are most receptive, but meaningful gaps exist by gender, age, and race. The findings give firms and financial planners a clearer picture of where AI adoption is headed and which clients may need a different kind of conversation. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore what inspired this research and how you can apply it to your work with your clients. Thanks for joining me, Miranda, and welcome to Behind the Research.
Thank you so much, Ben. So excited to be here with you.
I'm thrilled to have you join us. And we were talking before we started. You are in Spain right now. So
That's right.
I appreciate you navigating the time change here to join us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's start with the why behind the research. What were you seeing in the profession or the broader landscape that made you believe this research was needed?
Okay. So, can I tell you just a little story, Ben, to kind of answer that question?
Go right ahead.
Well, so go back to just taking us back a few years to the end of 2022.
Mhm.
And I got a call from a a prior student who said, "Hey, Dr. Ryder, I just wanted to talk to you a quick second. Have you heard about this thing, ChatGPT?" And I was like, "No." And he was so, I could like feel his excitement over the phone. And I said, "No, what is that?" And he proceeded to tell me about this thing called ChatGPT. And so, I got off the phone with him, I started, looking around to see like what is he talking about. And really ever since that conversation, I've been, a bit captivated by,
Mhm.
AI, generative AI, and how our world has really changed in a way by its introduction. There was an article in a Time magazine a few months after ChatGPT came on the scene that was titled something like, ChatGPT has managed to surpass Instagram and TikTok in users
Mhm.
within the very short time frame. So within about 2 months after its release, it had over 100 million daily users. It took TikTok almost a year to get there, and I think Instagram 2.5 years. And so I wasn't alone in my captivation with this new technology. People really were drawn and
Mhm.
still are drawn to AI. And so for me, with my current occupation as a professor and previous occupation as a financial advisor, I started to think about how is this impacting the future financial advisors that I'm teaching as well as a profession. And so there were so many questions that I had, and I started to develop basically kind of a research plan of like how could I answer some of the questions that were just running through my mind.
Mhm.
And last year in 2025, FINRA released their 2024 edition of the National Financial Capability Survey. And I was super excited to see that they'd asked respondents about their interest in AI related to financial planning, because we'd not seen really any question like this before in large data sets. And the information that was out there was not specific to financial advice. So that's kind of the long
Sure.
story to how I got around to investigating this.
It's fascinating. Yeah, I mean, AI is definitely a key player for a lot of people in terms of where they get their advice. I mean, so as you were engaging in this research, I mean, were there any big surprises, any big ahas that you saw that you were sitting back and thinking, well, I wasn't expecting that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I had about 10 hypotheses in this paper. And so there were, things that, I thought would go one way and they didn't. So some of the things that, surprised me, but didn't. For example, financial literacy, or we also
Mhm.
call this objective financial knowledge. Um, that was one in which I'd hypothesized that that would not be positively associated with being interested in using AI for financial advice, but it turns out that there was a positive connection to that. So the higher a person's objective financial knowledge, the higher their likelihood was to say that they'd be interested in using AI for financial advice. So that was surprising. The outputs on race and gender were also surprising in the
Mhm.
sense that they were as strong as they were. So women were significantly less likely to engage with or say that they were interested in AI, which was not exactly surprising, but I guess
Sure.
the level of significance was surprising to me. And the same with looking at those who identified as non-white being far more likely. So those were, you can understand some of where it's coming from, but at the same time, still some of those results were surprising.
Yeah, it's interesting. And so as you think about your research, what are you hoping that practicing planners are gonna be able to take from the research and apply to their daily work with their clients?
Yeah, so I think that this paper gives us an opportunity to see some of those characteristics are associated with using financial advice, and obviously, research doesn't describe the people that are sitting across from the desk from us, right? We can't say that this group, this is associated with this group and this applies to this person, but it does give us a general idea of how groups might behave. But I think one of the findings that's perhaps more underscored in the paper is
Mhm.
that actually most people said they're not interested in using AI for financial advice. That wasn't my research question, but it was what I found.
Sure.
So people, there were, thousands of people who said yes, but there were multiple more thousands that said no. So I think that one thing to take away from this, as firms and financial advisors are increasingly using AI to help streamline some of their practices, is that there's probably conversations that need to be had with clients. And I'm sure there are, but I think that there's just a lot of room if you have so many people who are saying, I'm not interested in that. And we don't know what's behind that. The data doesn't tell us why. Is it trust? Is it just true lack of interest? I'm not sure, but I think that advisors certainly could be served by having conversations around ethics and privacy and how AI is being used in their practices, and maybe showing clients. And for some of those results around, groups like women or older people not being as open to adopt AI, I think that there's some opportunities for education, some seminars and workshops and things like that to perhaps educate them, because I think that disinterest doesn't mean that they're um,
Mhm.
not willing, but maybe they just don't
Sure.
know enough, or maybe they have some skepticism there.
Well, it's interesting because I was gonna ask you, like, what is an action? But this idea of just having the conversation is really cool. I mean, one of the things, anyone who's seen me do any kind of video, whatever, I always talk about how financial planning is the ultimate human-centric profession, right? You need to be able to sit across from a table, and that's the differentiator between what AI does and what a real financial planner does. So, it's an opportunity, I think, for financial planners to
Absolutely.
utilize this research to engage in a conversation, which is what planners should be doing anyway.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree. I think it's an opportunity to use those soft skills, the ones that,
Mhm.
advisors do so well in this moment of great advancement technologically, but also uncertainty.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic, Miranda. And again, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to help us go behind the research. I especially appreciate you uh, doing this from Spain. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely my pleasure, Ben. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Miranda. And everybody, you can see the little QR code there on the screen, but you can dig into this exciting new research in the July issue of the Journal of Financial Planning, which is now available to all FPA members. You can simply scan the QR code, or you can visit fpajournal.org. Thank you for spending a few minutes with us, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Research.